Okay, that should be recording now. Okay. So what I might do is I'll bring up the document that I sent to Rich just to outline the proposal that I'm suggesting we submit, which is, I think, for tomorrow. Is it? Is it tomorrow that they have to be in?
I've no idea. So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. Is like the deadline. Yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry, Fund 5 proposal. Fund 5.
That's right.
Yeah, it's it's tomorrow. I've got one myself in. Yeah. So that, well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can get like a draft in tomorrow, and then I think you've got like another week to like update it after feedback and stuff like that. So, but I think the actual, and I've noticed in previous funds, some people have just put like placeholders just so that they've got a spot, which is a bit sneaky.
Yeah, that's what I did. I haven't even completed. All I've completed is the problem statement for my proposal.
Yeah. That's more than some people did in previous funds. They just put placeholder. That was the title.
Yeah, but look, I'm so sorry because I haven't read the document. So
no. Well, that's okay because I was trying to get it up onto GitHub so that it could be seen by the broader audience, and obviously then people could make changes to it up there. Use that as like a platform for collaborating and making changes.
Yeah, good.
I know you can do that in things like Google Docs, but I think GitHub's probably a much better place because it's a tool that we can use for various different types of things.
No, that makes me very, very happy because I'm trying to encourage that, as you know. And I mean, but obviously we've got teething problems with the access, which we're working out. We're working out.
Yeah, so I'd written it in Markdown, and then I've had to take that and put it into a Google Doc. But that's okay. All right. So let me share my screen, and we'll just kind of go through it.
Okay.
Where are we? So basically, what I'm suggesting, let me know can you see my screen?
Let's give it a minute, Adam. Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So what I'm suggesting is I've been participating in some of the meetings that the NFT group have had, and I'll kind of describe what they've been covering off. But as part of those sessions, it kind of led me to this Interwork Alliance, and I've kind of been digging into what they've been doing, and essentially it looks quite good because what they're actually trying to do. If you go on their website, so if I go here, if you actually look, kind of who's involved. It's kind of like the usual. Where are we? Membership, IWA members. Was that? So the usual big guns are trying to obviously get involved in setting standards and things like that. So, and then there's some more blockchainy type, Chainlinker in there. VMware. So it's a mixture of kind of blockchain and tech companies that are kind of getting involved. But what they've done is actually quite good because I'll jump on there. They're defining like a token taxonomy framework. So basically, and they're not just talking about NFTs, they're talking about all possible tokens.
Really?
Yeah. So if you get into this is their GitHub. So if you go into this overview.
So let me get this straight. A naming convention for all tokens.
Sorry?
So they're proposing effectively a naming convention for all tokens.
Well, they're sort of. So let me just show you this. They're actually using kind of like a formula to describe any particular token of any particular type, and so they've got definitions for how you can build this formula, and they've actually got this really cool. It's a VS Code plugin. So have you used VS Code?
No.
It's like a code editor that Microsoft put out, and you can basically you can take attributes that you want, like visually, in your token, and you kind of bring it in, and it will kind of build up this formula and say whether there's any conflicts, because you might have said, well, I want a I don't know, a mintable token that's singular, and it's like, well, that's contradictory. Once you've got that one token, then you can't mint others of it because you've defined it as being singular. So there's that kind of thing. But the thing that interested me, I mean, I'm not overly fussed about the. So if you kind of drill down here, I'm not overly fussed about the higher layers of what they're defining. Let me try to get the diagram I'm looking for.
That's really cool.
Yeah. What I'm more interested in. So yeah. Okay. So like here, for example, they talk about you've got fungible, non-fungible, hybrid, and then that can then say, well, I've got a fractional fungible, a whole fungible, a whole non-fungible, and so on. So there's all these different characteristics that you can start to build up. But the thing that I'm interested in is these things that come out at the end, these token templates. So what they're actually starting to define is industry-based templates that would suit a particular use case. So I think one of the examples they give is, there might be a in like carbon credits, so if there's some kind of agreement about how carbon credits would be tokenized as a industry use case, then you can have a token template that defines what that looks like. And anybody who follows that template knows that they are creating tokens that comply with that.
Right.
And so it's presumably then transferable, so if somebody's created.
So it's a bit like having a patent for a token.
Yeah, essentially, but obviously it's not.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking.
Well, it's a standard.
Yeah. I'm thinking of analogies.
Yeah. So if you actually go into here, you can actually see they've kind of got some examples. If I go back to where was it? Into here, artifacts, I think it is. Token templates. So we can actually go into some of the specifications. So here's some examples. So like a ticket. So quite a common NFT use case would be a ticket for an event. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can actually go in and look at the specification that they've identified for this. Should load the PDF, I think.
Yeah, sure. Have you come across the token framework workbook?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it's quite similar. Yeah. It's a framework for developers to. It's like a grid framework on a spreadsheet, which allows you to engineer tokens. But
okay, so it sounds quite similar.
It's similar approach, an engineering approach to tokens.
Well, I think the idea with this is that once you've you could actually pull down. So this is kind of in this particular example where it's what was it? It was a ticket, a reserved ticket. So it starts to define all these things, and I think at some point it actually like builds out some metadata. Subdivision. Maybe I'm in the wrong section. Let me just go back to maybe in here definitions. That reserved ticket. Yeah, here we go. So like I can actually go into here and I can see kind of this is if we were to structure our metadata this way, then it would comply with this token taxonomy frameworks, standard, if you want to call it that, for a ticket or for a reserved ticket.
Are these standards? Are these standards proposal standards? They're not.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this Interwork Alliance, they only formed in mid 2020.
Right.
Okay. But obviously the idea is to try and get enough traction and enough people in the industry to all buy into the same thing. So where you've got, for example, where were we? I mean, in the blockchain space, Chainlink are obviously a fairly well-known.
That's probably the most influential.
I mean, there might be some others in here that I just don't recognise the name of that are relatively influential in blockchain, but
Chainlink have got a lot of traction in the space at the moment, haven't they? So if they're involved, and people like Microsoft are involved, and so on.
Exactly.
Then
And most of these standards organisations, that's ultimately what gets them to be the adopted standard. It's basically, and so I've written up in this proposal, I basically said, like web tokens need HTML standards and wireless access points need Wi-Fi standards to avoid forcing the use of vendor-specific software or hardware that impacts user experience. So decentralized applications need NFT standards. At the end of the day, if everybody's got, let me, can I zoom in on this?
No, yeah, you could. That'd be good. My eyesight's
there we go. There we go. At the end of the day, when there weren't standards in the browser, and you had one group of people doing something differently to another, then it caused problems for the end users. And that's kind of the message that I'm putting across here is if we're positioning ourselves as kind of the premier NFT framework in Cardano, then we probably need to be looking at using standards that the industry are looking to adopt.
Can I just see what's your proposal text? Can you just scroll down solution description? Okay, so we're proposing. Are we proposing to represent Cardano in this respect?
Yeah. So there's two things. So this is kind of part one. I'm suggesting that we put it in the metadata challenge in Catalyst. That doesn't have a lot of money allocated to it. So basically what I'm suggesting is for now, we just ask for money to get paid membership to the Interwork Alliance.
All right.
And the main reason for doing that is, firstly, we will be able to participate in the working groups that actually start to build out these standards.
Yeah.
But secondly, we'll also be eligible. They're going to do a certification program so that organizations can get certified as complying with that standard, which obviously then, gives organizations confidence, that a piece of software or a framework is using a recognized standard. And this is going to become more of an important thing when we start to look at offering capabilities around NFTs that are more than kind of what has sparked NFTs. Everybody's doing digital art and game items and things like that. But when some of the other people like doing things like carbon credits and more industry type people want to start using NFTs, then this is going to be an important factor. So at the moment, to be able to join the Interwork Alliance, it's a fee based on how big you are.
So two proposals. One proposal as a placeholder to get more funding, and one proposal for the metadata stream.
So what I've done is I've talked about the Inter NFT. And I'll show you what they've been working on in a second. But what I'm actually saying is what we're asking for for $5,000 to join the Interwork Alliance. That's an annual fee for an organization of our size.
Okay.
And then in a future round, get funding for another amount of money to become a sponsored member of Inter NFT. Now, they don't have a paid membership structure. But I think it would be important if we can, get some prominence within that organisation by being a sponsored member, rather than, just a passive member. So how much that would be, we can work that out at a future date. But it's kind of, I think there's value in being involved in both. But let's start off with the one that we know about from a cost perspective. It's $5,000, and then we can kind of move into the other one. I mean, we can still participate in the Inter NFT stuff. I've been going to some of their metadata meetings, just to kind of show some presence and ask some questions and things like that. But I think getting more involved in actually driving the direction would probably be useful as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that sounds like quite a quick win on a message on a Fund 5 proposal for the metadata stream.
Correct.
And then, just leave it at that at the moment, just for that, and then go for the 5K, which is quite it's 50K, isn't it, in the metadata?
I'm not sure.
I think that's only about 10% of their budget.
Yeah.
So that should be a quick win, hopefully.
And it sets a tone of going, well, NFT DAO, they're getting engaged in some of these standards organizations on behalf of the Cardano community. And so when we then go, well, we want to do the same thing with the Inter NFT working group, then obviously there'll be more of an appetite.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly show you what's happening in the Inter NFT stuff, because I actually find this is more interesting than the Interwork Alliance stuff for me. The Interwork Alliance is more of a they're looking at it from a business perspective. So those token templates are kind of like, well, this is the metadata that a particular industry would need. So if you follow this token template for this industry standard, then you should be fine. But it doesn't stipulate how you would go about implementing that from a technical perspective. And that's where the Inter NFT guys are coming in and going, well, we're being opinionated about the technical implementation of NFTs now. So I'll just quickly show you what they're doing. Are you familiar with DIDs, the decentralized identifiers?
Very superficially. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I was involved in archiving and in archiving projects a few years ago, where I went over a lot of this stuff. So, but so that's where my only metadata experience really. But I originally was a test manager, quality assurance manager. So that's my background. So I can come up to speed quite quickly on these things.
Yeah. So have you heard about the product that IOHK are building, the Atala Prism product for identity?
Yes, the DID project, yes.
Yeah. So basically, they're building on what will very likely be, apparently it's just going through the standards track now at the W3C for the DID standard to be formally adopted. So IOHK have built their identity product on that, using that standard, but they're by no means the first people to do that. There's DID methods that you can use for quite a few different blockchains. So Ethereum, Bitcoin, some non-public blockchains as well. So
that'll probably remain the case. There probably will be competing IDs going forward, won't there?
Well, the way that DIDs have been designed is that it's a URI, so it's a unique identifier. So the way that the DID itself is structured is obviously it defines it's a DID. So it's kind of, let's see if we can actually find. Actually, if we might be links to out of here. Linked. No, he hasn't linked to the DID standard anywhere in this document. I thought maybe he might, because essentially, oh no, here we go. Look, so no, I want to see. Don't want to see that. I want to see kind of the actual. Let me just go DID standard V3C.
Do Inter NFT have any liaison with the Ethereum community?
I don't. The meetings that I've been to, I haven't heard of anybody from Ethereum participating, but I have heard some Polkadot people. It was actually started by Cosmos. So there's a group of people in Cosmos that have kind of kicked it off, but they're very keen to get other blockchain communities participating, because they don't just want it to be about them. That's the whole point, is that they want to come up with a standard that is interoperable across blockchains.
Of course.
So this is the DID standard, okay, and the purpose of this is an identifier. So basically, here's what it looks like. So you basically you define that you're talking about a DID, and then you use this DID method. Now the method will point to something which is usually like a blockchain. So some of the methods might say, but you've got a resolver. So it's a piece of software that knows how to resolve this URI. And it obviously looks at everything between the colons and goes, all right, I'm resolving this. I know that it's a did. I know that what follows is a did method that defines where I can go and actually look for more details about this did. And then you've got the specific identifier, which is the next string. And that resolves to a did document. Okay, now that's essentially some metadata that lives on a blockchain somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's and what these are being used for is for you to. But there's this term self-sovereign identity. So basically, if I want to have a digital identity, then rather than using like a Google identity or a Facebook, to sign me into things, I will control the keys to my identity myself. Okay, and so it's quite similar to how like a crypto wallet will work. So you would have like a public and private key, and you can sign to confirm that this is your identity. Okay, and it's got some really great features that they're coming up with. They've got this concept of what's called a verifiable credential. So you can might be some trusted source that also has a did that goes, here's some information that we've verified about this person. That might be like a driver's license.
Okay.
So you're holding this verifiable credential that's been verified cryptographically by the a trusted source like the driver's license center. And
so you have a means of escalating verification that way. So you can start with
exactly.
So you can start with a basic self-service, and then get someone else to verify you, and then build that up.
Exactly. Yeah. But how much information you reveal is then up to you. So you might be, there's this concept now in blockchain of these zero knowledge proofs. So you can basically go, well, I'm actually going to prove something about myself without actually revealing any information. So it might be that, when you take your driver's license to the bar to get a drink and you have to prove you're 18, well, you can prove that using this mechanism without actually showing them any information. You don't show them your date of birth. There's just kind of like a green tick that says, yes, this person's over 18. And the people behind the bar trust that this has been verified by someone. But it's all around almost like human identities. So what the guys at the InterNFT have done is they've gone, well, why does a DID, decentralized identifier, need to be just about human actors? Why can't we have a DID that describes a token? And I think this is a fantastic idea, because now you've got a way of addressing a token on any blockchain in a decentralized manner, and in a manner that is addressable regardless of the blockchain. So I can have an app running on Cardano that is resolving a DID that lives on Ethereum. And as long as my application knows how to resolve that DID, it can understand that second part of the DID is an Ethereum reference, and I can go away and look on the Ethereum blockchain for the DID document. And that's essentially what they're doing here. Is they're saying, well, let's extend this and actually say, well, some of this information is going to be identifying tokens, and so then you can start to build out how you would then capture information about that token. So that token template that the IWA people are doing, you can start to embed this into this DID document. So this this DID document here, which is what the standard DID standard refers to for a human identity. You could start to include metadata information in there about a token identity.
Right. I mean, I think the Cardano metadata specification includes a free text, something like a free text field, which enables you to put arbitrary data about link. So you could put in, for example, links to other data in there.
So you're talking about transaction metadata now, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, no, actually,
Yeah.
there's the transaction, and then there's the. I'm trying to get this right now. The policy metadata.
The token policy. Yep.
Yeah, the token policy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The token policy
So
metadata. Yeah.
So when you mint a token, you're that's a transaction. That minting exercise is a transaction, and so you can actually capture that metadata as transaction metadata about the token. And that's exactly, I think, how, I don't know the details yet about how IOHK have done their DID implementation. I keep asking them for, can you reveal behind the curtain as to what you've done?
Yeah, sure.
But I'm assuming that the way that they've done it is that they're just writing this kind of DID document, into transaction metadata, just like anyone would write metadata onto the blockchain.
Okay.
And as long as you know how to reference it using, how you need a mechanism to resolve this to find that metadata on the blockchain. That's all it needs to do, and then basically you expand that, that original, where was it? So back on the Intra NFT guys now, he says this is a minimal DID document, so this is just a standard DID document, okay? You got your public key details, and obviously the context reference back to the schema, and then all they've done is, so they've extended. They're using the term IID. They're calling it an Interchain Identifier. I think that's what their IID stands for. And all they're doing is they're pulling in some additional schema information, and that's it at the moment. So what they're saying is all of their IIDs are DIDs, but they've just got a little bit more information in them than a standard DID to make it more NFT related. And so this is where they've kind of now gone, well, we could have a service in here that, references things you can do with this token. So it might be that you can transfer. So all that kind of standard Ethereum type stuff, where you've got operations that you can perform on tokens.
Right. Okay.
And so you might say, well, I want to be able to, I'm trying to think of an action. I think they refer to them in here as behaviors in this token taxonomy framework. They, where was it? Go back.
I suppose I was thinking, because I about a week ago, I'm a bit rusty. I saw the lecture by the Cardano people on their metadata NFT server, where they came up with a specification for a minimum definition, and that minimum definition just included the policy ID essentially, which is two parts, and a binary. Sorry, not a binary. A container for an arbitrary length of text. So in that container, so that's basically, I think, about 3 or 4 fields, or 3 or 4, and that just allowed you to. That's what I see missing from these specifications is a container for some arbitrary text, which allows you to cross-reference essentially. But maybe that's too much detail. It's too much detail. But,
So what I was going to say is this information that is stored about the token, about an NFT, this doesn't get into, well, how does blockchain X do it or blockchain Y do it? It's just basically saying if you want to have a standard that all systems understand, then as long as you write your information this way, we don't care the detail as to how you get it written, just as long as it follows that structure.
Yeah, so you could write a Cardano policy that would just match that.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that the Atala Prism stuff is already capable of working with DIDs like this means that there's probably a lot of the hard work already done.
Yeah, it's not even at the contract level. We could do that at the policy level. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, you basically, this linked resource is basically, you could put you could put on-chain metadata in here about, so that token template that the Interwork Alliance are doing, you could put it on-chain in there, or you could just refer to it off-chain somewhere.
Right.
And the guy who's kind of running this, that's kind of running this working group, he's a big proponent for not storing anything on chain. He actually he's all about privacy preservation. Now, and I've tried to say to him, well, there's always going to be use cases where you want it public. A lot of these NFTs these days are they need to be public on purpose. Everybody needs to be able to see the metadata. I can understand how there's going to be use cases where you don't want all the information to be public, but you want it to be cryptographically, verifiable.
Yeah. What about how does he feel about holding cryptographic encrypted data? Like, for example, let's say you wanted to put medical data of someone on the blockchain, and you encrypted that. So the only people who could read that would be have the keys to that data, and then you included a policy ID that would burn that data on the person's authority, for example.
Yeah. Look, I haven't really got into it in that level of detail with him, but I think I've kind of heard Charles talk on this a little bit, and I think there's kind of this default position that if there's information that you don't want revealed, what was it he said? There's encrypted information, that like spycraft people use. They collect this encrypted information that's coming across the wire because they know that while they can't decrypt it now, they might be able to decrypt it in 20 years.
Right.
And it might still be useful for them in 20 years. So it's almost like, well, you think that you are safe by putting your personal information on the blockchain, but it's forever. And because we can't decrypt it now doesn't mean that a quantum computer might not be able to decrypt it at some point in the future.
Right. Okay.
So
I mean,
there's that kind of consideration.
Also, we're not going to resolve ongoing issues about generic issues about, for example, medical data or privacy, or like, for example, like tracking your health and through Apple or something like that, and the balance between being that being useful and that being private, So
exactly.
We're not going to resolve that.
So look, I mean, I think at this point, I was really just trying to get some kind of, I guess, opinion from other people within NFT DAO about, whether, I find this quite exciting as an approach because it's kind of reusing an existing standard for a new purpose, and it's quite. I mean, the reason why this standard was developed in the first place with DIDS was obviously for a particular reason around, how it's beneficial, and using it as a URI, it means that there's already ways to kind of work with that to make it unique across any possible blockchain that is now or in the future. So. I'm not suggesting that we have to go down this path, but to me, it just seems like a logical approach to kind of start to hook into some of these standards that are already starting to form.
No, I agree. If we're positioning ourselves as a framework, as the NFT framework, and a serious organisation that can do that, then we need to start reaching out and getting actively involved with these bodies. And I mean, I've been meaning to, even to the extent of pulling their GitHub site and making suggestions, getting involved in the meetings, as well as the, I'm talking about NFT, not just the Interwork Alliance as well. Sure. I totally agree.
Well, when the Intra NFT guys start back up, because they were kind of funded up until Easter, the first block of work, and so they're kind of on a break now while they just confirm the start date and how long that's going to go for the next phase. the meetings were on a fixed day each week. They kind of had, at the time, and it might change in the future, but at the time they kind of had like a general call one week, and then they'd have a metadata specific call on the opposite week. So they'd have kind of every fortnight, you'd have the same kind of call. I mean, I guess that's getting into the detail again. I think at this stage it's more just a case of, from a, I guess a more of a high level decision, is this an approach we want to start taking from the start? I've seen conversations around, people within the Cardano community have started talking around, well, we need to come up with an NFT metadata standard. And it's like, well, correct, we do, but then that's just a Cardano NFT metadata standard,
No.
So, why do that?
Yeah, no, well, that needs to be done as well, but that needs to be done in liaison. I mean, you can imagine coming up with a metadata standard that's not in liaison. So, it needs to be informed with working with the broader blockchain community. My only concern with Inter NFT is this lack of Ethereum involvement, because obviously Ethereum, I'd like to know what is Ethereum. Does Ethereum work with something similar already? We need to find that out, and see if they have any standards. I'm not saying we can't do everything straight away, but we need to. Well,
it's interesting
out.
If you,
and we need to get some Ethereum
time
involved. Sure.
If you get some time, Intra NFT have got a YouTube channel, and you can just kind of watch back through some of their past meetings. If you actually watch the very last one that they did, okay,
right.
They actually did almost like an example of how they could migrate a CryptoKitty from Ethereum onto another blockchain using this. So they actually kind of mapped, this is how it's done in the Ethereum 721 standard. And how can we take all of those components that make up a CryptoKitty and put it into this model so that, we can actually essentially migrate that token, that NFT token, off Ethereum. Now, the conversation then got back into, well, if you did that, could you put it back again? And so I think while Ethereum has kind of been the beacon and where everyone's kind of gone to, they've kind of just kind of, maybe they're wrestling on their laurels a little bit and just kind of going, well, we don't really need to get involved in anything. We've got the standard, so why do we need to look at anything else?
I'm thinking from a strategic and it's almost like a diplomatic approach, where there's been this kind of it's fun to say, oh, Cardano's got, Ethereums are enemies of Cardano. I think that's I think it's short-sighted, and we need to we need to be proactive and be and demonstrate that we're mature and say, look, reach out to Ethereum people, and if necessary, reach up to people in Cardano as well, and say, look, we need to interact with Ethereum, we need to interact with Polkadot, we need to interact with Chainlink or whatever, at both these levels, at the Interwork Alliance level for industry, for more business strategy,
standards,
and then at the technical level as well, with assisting players who already, through their energy enthusiasm, are getting going, like Internet NFT. And this is all. I mean, it's fascinating stuff. I just wish I had more time. I'm currently involved in so much. It's a bit dizzying sometimes.
I know.
Yeah.
And look, I think, I think if we were to get this proposal out and go, look, we're intending on starting to work with the Interwork Alliance, we want to start to work with Intra NFT, and then we could potentially get a bit of a conversation going in the broader community. I would think IOHK and some of these other actors are probably going to want to have some say in this as well. They're kind of. I've heard Charles say, we're going to start working on an NFT standard. It's like, so they're thinking about this, but are they thinking about it in a Cardano specific context, or are they looking at the broader picture as well? So I think at least throw our hat in the ring of going, well, we want to be involved in the conversation. This is one approach that we think might be worth considering, and let people poke holes in it. If there's a problem with going down this path, like you said, if Ethereum doesn't start to buy into the inter-NFT approach, of using DIDs as identifiers for NFTs, then we might have to go, well, if there's going to be a competing standard somewhere, then we need to decide, well, which one do we want to side with?
But I know Rich. If you've spoken to Rich about any of this, I know Rich said at the last meeting that we announced at the last meeting kind of that he is brought in Fund 5 and going forward. He wants to broaden out the reach of NFT DAO to potentially beyond the Cardano chain, as a kind of generic approach. So, I support my proposal. I mean, I'm not sure if my proposal will get anywhere, but it's about more about quality assurance, and also it's also a generic approach. And,
not Cardano specific.
Exactly. It's about. My proposal is about developing quality assurance and distributed project management and peer facilitation for. I mean, I'll see how that goes. I think we can contain this within our NFT DAO framework. I mean, I think it should have a repository of its own. To be honest, I think this is more. It should have maybe we should create an NFT metadata standards repository on GitHub because otherwise it could get confused. The NFT metadata repository that we have, I think, is that Yagi opened up. I think that's more to develop in Cardano. And so if we put data there on the stuff that we're working on there, it might get confused. So I don't know what you think.
Well, yeah. Look, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's an implementation element to this. So there's how do I have some code that can actually do the operation of creating an NFT? And doing it in a standard way, so there's that, I guess there's the metadata component there, but, at the end of the day, that how do you code it to actually write this, create this NFT using this metadata? I guess we're not, the metadata component, I guess, is what we're kind of trying to suggest, that we shouldn't have a Cardano specific metadata standard. I think we need a Cardano specific implementation method of how to implement this and write metadata for NFTs. But if we want to use an open standard that is not Cardano specific, has there been much activity on the metadata repository?
No, I set up. When I originally joined the project, I was interested in standards and quality assurance and so on, and so I was interested in building a kind of a GitHub infrastructure and applying project management to GitHub repositories, so that you have issue management and project boards and that kind of thing, and that's
which I definitely support. I think and I think most people who've worked in the development space would probably support that, because it's a very useful tool for all those kinds of things. So.
Yeah, and it also provides a place to anyway. But so now the current metadata repository, I sort of see it more as for development. Yeah. So whereas I think what you're talking about is more strategic and more about the framework. Okay. So I was thinking a separate repository where we can put our own project boards, our own issue management. Okay, you could be an owner of it. And a place where we can put all the documentation, we can raise issues, we can issue pull requests from, and so on, and merge stuff. So I think that would it'd be clear. Now it also projects a clear signal. Also, it would act as the repository reference for our funding application as well. So we could refer back to it.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea, because I think you can do a separation of metadata implementation from a development perspective, and then metadata standards from a strategic perspective. And I think if you had a standards repository, then there might be something down the line that's going to be more than just metadata standards. There might be some other kind of standard we want to start looking at as well.
A year from now, we're liaising with the Internet Work Alliance, and we say to the Internet Work Alliance at this top-level meeting, oh, this is our GitHub repository, and the GitHub repository is not confused with lots of code that relating to metadata. It's all about standards and liaison with the only technical details are standards details like the NFT, the Interwork NFT.
The Inter NFT guys.
Not Cardano metadata server details or stuff like that, which are going to be confusing,
because I mean, obviously, our framework is going to have software code that will interact with the blockchain. So it's like, here's a piece of code that actually writes metadata, and so it's like, well, how does our code do that? The standard doesn't care about that.
I mean, I think it's important. Then you can do releases from repository to repository. So, for example, let's say you have a development. I don't know if I've also done project management of test life cycles. So you would have you would develop code in the one repository, and you might have standards in another. And then when the code developers get to a point when they say, oh, we need to apply these standards, they do a pull request to the standards repository, pull that in, that's reviewed there by us or whoever's responsible for standards, and they say, yes, your code meets these standards, it's signed off, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Sure. I think that's seems like a logical approach, and then we can kind of, and I like the idea about starting to move some of the more decision-based discussions onto GitHub as opposed to in Discord. So I think it would be something like this where we would go, well, we need to make a decision now. We're going to go and be involved with the Interwork Alliance, and actually capture the conversation around that decision on GitHub. It's there for posterity. It's there for other people to look at.
It also demonstrates open source credentials and says, look, we meant it when we said that we were open source in our original proposal. So that's one of our fund-free deliverables. So we can say, look, we've delivered that.
Well, it's not just about being open source; it's about being transparent as a DAO as well. You're not really decentralized if the information's centralized in one group of people.
Absolutely.
It has to be there for if all of us get hit by a bus tomorrow, then somebody else can come and pick up this DAO, and they've got all the information accessible.
Okay, I'll take that as an action point from this meeting.
To get hit by a bus?
That too. I probably will. To set up a GitHub, if you can think of a name for it, or whatever, what should we call it? But we can change the name. Doesn't matter. But I call it standards for something or something like that.
I think that probably works.
And then I'll make you. I'll give you top level access to that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I have to look at who's got permission to do that, but we'll sort that out. And then we're going forwards. Well, I hope you'll let me in as a member as well. But you
can let yourself in, mate. You can let yourself in.
But then going forward, then that can be our place to get going on this, and we can also pull the Fund 5 stuff there. We can put in all the information about the alliance there and about the Inter NFT group as well.
No, I think that's good. All right, I guess outside of my stuff, was there anything else that we needed to cover?
No, that was amazing. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, and quite mind-boggling.
So look, I timed this meeting as a weekly meeting, strategically being the day before the main meeting. I've seen that you've been attending those.
I am, but going forwards, I'm going to have to step back a bit because I'm concentrating on. I mean, I appreciate your advice on this. I mean, I'm just doing too much, so I'm going to have to focus on business planning and also migrating parts of the business plan to GitHub, and also I'm actually part of the Plutus Pioneers program.
Okay, so that's going to keep you busy.
I'm behind on that as well. So I'm not. I'm going to stop. I was doing timestamps and capturing the early. What I'm thinking of as in the beginning before they got the funding. There needed to be a central point of focus, and that's what I was doing. And I think we're moving out of that phase now into now they've got funding. We're looking. I think we're moving more to a more distributed phase. Not funny enough, where we put out. It's more about organising how we work on GitHub and tools like Slack or Discord or whatever, and how we share our documentation on things like Office 365 or Google Documents or whatever. And,
look, I mean, it doesn't matter what organisation I join. You know, it could be actual work. It could be side projects like this. One of the biggest challenges I've always found is successful organizations are ones that capture their process, and review it regularly as well, because the process, as you said, this is kind of what it's kind of turned out to be as it started, but it's naturally going to evolve into something else. Well, if you've got somebody coming in from fresh, they've just got no clue how everyone else is operating. So you need to capture that somewhere, because it's the biggest barrier to onboarding new people. And you're going to have people full of enthusiasm about joining these organizations and then go, I just don't know what to do, and just drop off.
Yeah, we're already getting feedback on Discord where people are getting confused. Like, you go into Discord, there's no way to view threaded information. Everything is new. It's just like a big scroll. So for your repository of the NFT standard, metadata standards, I can create a project board from the beginning, which will have to do sign off, to do in progress sign off. I'll set up everything we discuss will be issue managed. So we can then allocate those issues to milestones that will appear on the project board on GitHub. Everyone can see that. We can then post those issues via on Discord. And we can integrate in that on my proposal channel. I have got a GitHub bot that actually takes in the issues automatically from my repository. So and to channel people, Discord is okay maybe for immediate engagement and conversation, more casual stuff and marketing, that kind of thing. But if people wanted to do some more work that requires documentation and context and planning, to be frank, then we need to use GitHub for that. If you agree, I mean,
I think you find most people will, because I mean, there's other similar ones. There's GitLab or there's Bitbucket or but they're all much the same thing.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I can help with that, and that's what one of my main areas of help.
Well, look, what I'll do is so if you stop attending those weekly meetings, then obviously, hopefully, we'll start to get some additional people coming into this, I guess, standards meeting. What I'm actually looking for is, obviously, from a time frame perspective, or from a time of day perspective, I've never been able to attend those weekly meetings. It's like 3:30 in the morning my time. So it's just
it's quite late
it's
for
the
me
worst.
as well,
It's the worst possible time, time zone wise. I've made suggestions to Dor about the town hall getting rotated through different times, to support people in different time zones. He's basically excluded the entire Asian market from attending those town halls live. So that's not really good from a inclusion perspective, so all they needed to do was kind of have 3 different times, and just rotate through those 3 different times,
Yeah, if we start doing project management on this through well, I call it our GitHub repository, then we can start building up exposure of our work. So because I'm in a time zone that's more compatible with this lot, you any information that you post on that GitHub, you can escalate. You can say, look, Stephen, and I can then push that through onto Discord and wherever, So
well, look, what I was alluding to was that if you are attending those weekly meetings, then obviously you're able to maybe provide a short summary of what we've covered in this meeting.
Okay, sure.
But obviously, if you're not going to attend those, then obviously you can't do that. Hopefully, by the time you stop attending those meetings, maybe we'll get somebody else in this who can be that person.
I wasn't planning to. No, let me be clear. I wasn't planning. What I was doing, I was capturing the content of those meetings. So
you'll still attend them?
Yeah. I'm still, but I'm just. It's just too much work for me to capture the content. It was taking me too much time. But
understandable. Yeah.
And also, I was doing it kind of a firefighting exercise. To it needs to be done. So but I can.
Well, I think you need like to clone yourself or get some other people who can do the same thing. I guess if you've obviously demonstrated the value that it has. Everyone in Discord's been very, appreciative of the work that you've done. I guess all we need now is a few more people to do the same thing.
With program management experience and capability, maturity, model experience.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're a dime a dozen, aren't they?
I know. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done it as well, but I mean, a lot of it's common sense, though. I mean, and actually, a good GitHub maintainer
should be able to pick it up pretty easily.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone involved in an open source project like that will understand what's going on for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, if you are going to attend that weekly meeting tomorrow, then you obviously just mention what we've discussed today, and strongly encourage other people to maybe join next week. Because I think it would be good to get a couple more people involved in these kinds of discussions.
Sure.
I understand that standards are a little bit of a dry topic, and it's not all about the art and all the fun things.
Not for me. I find it fascinating, but
But most people here are kind of, they get excited about the art and the box car and the developing the actual framework. That's the thing that's getting most people excited.
I think that's going to. I know. I mean, maybe I'm getting old, but I think I see it as a gold rush. So it's gonna pass, and then when that's over, people are going to get bored, and it'll move on to more. I'm not going to say serious stuff, but you know what I mean. It's going to have more business, more commercial, more community applications as well. So more serious. Well, not serious. Art is serious. So, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. All right. Well, we should probably cap it there. It's just hit midnight for me. So, are you happy to attend next week the same meeting, and we'll see if we can kind of
Tuesday is a good day for me because it's not Wednesday, and I think Rich. I don't like the NFT DAO meeting being on Wednesday either, because you've got 2 meetings. You have the town hall and you have the NFT DAO. I think it should be on a Thursday, but so anyway. That's right. I'm quite happy if you want to do this earlier. I'm quite happy to do that for you. I know it's late there, so
Oh, look, I think by me pushing it as late as possible, it allows us to go as west as possible, and be able to people just waking up on the west coast of the US maybe could potentially attend this. So I'm happy to do that. I think this is probably the best fit, and it kind of, it works for me. I'm normally up this late most nights anyway, so it's not a huge drama. As long as it's capped to an hour, then that's all needs to worry about.
30 seconds.
So look, I'll chase Rich to see. Obviously, it sounds like you're relatively supportive of maybe putting that proposal in and seeing if there's some interest in us representing Cardano at some of these standards organisations.
Absolutely.
So I'll feed that back to Rich, who's got the proposal draft, and I'm not sure when they're finalising which proposals they're going to actually submit, but I guess we'll see.
Okay, great. Nice
and look, if it doesn't get in this time, then we'll just keep talking about it for next time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
All right. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay.